You know, I was thinking of something the other day about Meghan Markle and history. And it's not even because of this article. It's actually funny that I was thinking about it, and while I was looking for articles to share with you, they actually talked about Meghan Markle, or referred to her as Meghan Antoinette, uh, in reference to Marie Antoinette. It kind of sounds like Meghan Antoinette. It sounds like it, you know. And for those of you who know history, will know who Marie Antoinette is. She was one of the last queens of France. She was the last queen, certainly, of the ancient regime of France, ancien regime. And she was also a foreigner who was married into the House of Bourbon to King Louis, another idiot, another cuck, another moron, bumbling, just like Prince Harry, except he became king and she became queen. She was unpopular she was popular in the beginning and then slowly became unpopular with her lavish spending. You know, the country was going in disarray, and it seems like she didn't care. She just milked the French people's tax money away, and eventually the French people became more and more resentful, and they chopped her head off, and her king and the king's head off. And I'm thinking to myself, this history might actually be repeating itself. You know, look at her. Look at this face. This face is spending so much money and she doesn't even care. It's almost like it's cute to her. She look at her. I know exactly what she's saying in that photo. She's saying, I'm taking all of the British people's tax dollars and I'm giggling about it. What y'all gonna do about it? Y'all can't do anything about it. What you gonna do about it? Look at her. Look at her. What you guys gonna do about it exactly? Well, I'll tell you what they could do. You know, history could very well repeat itself, because let's look at the facts. First of all, we all know that Britain is in some difficulty right now. You know, the UK is going through a lot with this whole Brexit thing. There could be a situation where they're going to leave with no deal. And what could happen is that the first few years might be tough, but you know, if the British politicians play their cards right, it won't have to be as tough. But a lot of stuff is a lot of problems are happening with Britain. A lot of people are not living as good as their parents lived, and you know, young people and all this stuff. And then you got this foreign Duchess of Thoughts, Meghan Markle from Hollywood, this trashy American Hollywood D actor, D list actor, comes here, marries this bumbling idiot Prince Harry, milks the British people all their money, spending it on all sorts of. I mean, look at this. They're now having to spend a shocking amount of money on security at Frogmore. Now, what do they need security for? I mean, I'll tell you what they need security for, but let's ask that question. You know, why do they need all this security? I mean, Prince Harry's not going to be king. He's most likely never going to be king. They're minor members. Why do they need to? I'll tell you why they need security, because they're so damn unpopular and they know history. So they have to spend millions and millions of dollars on security on this little barn. I mean, for royal standards. I mean, normal people might find their house comfortable, but royal standards, it's a barn. I mean, I mean, I don't think the royal dog would want to live where they're living. So, but the queen put them there, and it was actually the servants' quarters at one point where they're living, Frogmore Cottage. That's where the servants used to live. But and just to clear some things up, you guys were saying that some people were saying Edward the Eighth and Mrs. Simpson were buried there. They're not actually buried there. They're buried in the mausoleum, which is close by there, but it's in the same vicinity, but it's not actually there. It's a mausoleum that they're buried. In fact, they're buried in the same mausoleum that all of the recent kings and queens of Britain are buried in, and all recent members of the royal family. So I just wanted to clear that up there in case people wanted to accuse me of any fake news. And then look at this now. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry spend taxpayers' cash on two orangeries and a floating floor in £2.4 million Frogmore Cottage refurb. I mean, look at this. Look at this thing here. I mean, yeah, maybe I mean, it looked like a typical British home. I mean, for a royal people, the Queen putting them in this thing here is an insult. I mean, this looks like social housing. Look at it. It looks like social housing, doesn't it? It looked like something that somebody who needs the subsidized housing would live in, and they're living there. And the Queen doesn't like them. They're putting them right there in that place. So they have to make a designer kitchen and all this stuff. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. This woman here is smiling now because she knows that she feels she can do what she wants with the British. And yeah, y'all can criticize, Arana Nation can criticize, everybody can criticize. You guys can't do anything to her right now. That's why she's giggling. I'm gonna tell you something. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 20 years the British people don't get sick of this and they start a British Revolution and they take her and they chop her neck off out there in Trafalgar Square along with Prince Harry. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm not praying for that, but it's gonna happen. I'm not praying for it, but it's going to happen. And it's not. It's gonna be a tough period for Britain because they're also having a lot of social problems, just like France. A lot of people are very divided, just like France was. You got this foreign duchess coming in here. She doesn't care about the people. Let them eat cake, all this sort of stuff. Spending all this whole heap of money, doesn't understand what's going on in the country. I mean, people are going to get sick of it, and people are already sick of it. So history could repeat itself, but this time in England. And I think that the British politicians and the Queen need to do something about it because they're going to be blamed as well. Because if you remember in history, Marie Antoinette, she brought down the whole House of Bourbon. The king, herself, her children, everybody. The same thing is going to happen. The same thing is going to happen. You can't treat people like that, especially when the country is in a bad state financially, socially, geopolitically. All sorts of stuff is happening with the UK right now, and you have this princess who's spending like a like I don't know what. So somebody needs to do something about this. I'm telling you. I mean, you see what's happening in France already with yellow vests and all this stuff like that. It's kind of already happening in Britain too. I mean, I don't even want to talk about yellow vests in Canada. I think the yellow vests in Canada have been infiltrated by big money, just like the Tea Party movement was. So I don't even want to talk about them. There's a bunch of old bastards who are interested in big money and all that stuff and don't like immigrants. So I don't want to talk about they've destroyed that movement. I'll focus on the yellow vests in Europe. And it's happening in England. And it can happen again, and it can happen on an even bigger scale. And they'll target the Duchess of Thots, as I've referred to her, and they'll see how she's spending all this whole heap of money, taxpayer money. Meanwhile, the country is in a bad state, and they'll do the same thing they did to Marie Antoinette. Now, before you say that I'm advocating violence, I'm not advocating any violence. I'm just telling you what is going to happen if somebody doesn't rein in this woman. It's gonna happen. So consider yourselves warned. You heard it first here. This is the Arana Nation.